In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to set up a template for a 3/4 view portrait. So for the 3/4 view, I essentially start like I start a profile, and then I go ahead and add a longer jaw area than for a portrait. So kind of that U shape that, or I don't know, J shape that I drew for the other, for the first one. I go ahead, I'm going to draw this a little darker so you could see it. I go ahead and draw a U shape that's a little wider than the original one. And then I also I'm going to go ahead and add a neck kind of coming out from the bottom of the jaw. And of course, depending on how the body is positioned, the neck and the shoulders will be different. But if you get that much done, you should already start to see the shape of a human head, okay? Okay, after you get this much done, then it is time to go ahead and place the features. Now, I don't usually do essential access when I'm drawing portraits, though a lot of people do. But I do for this one just because it kind of helps me get the features in the right place. So I do this curved line where I see the center of the portrait happening. Like where the nose is kind of around here. Now, what we call 3/4 view is often sort of different just depending on exactly where someone's looking. But to do a basic 3/4 view where the nose doesn't exactly touch the other side, I'm going to draw one of the beetles. I am going to go ahead and do that placement marks that we've talked about over and over again. So I've done about 14 centimeters here. So I'm going to go ahead and at 7, I'm going to make a mark that stands for the different eyes, okay? So those are my eye marks right here. And I am going to go ahead and put in some eyebrows. Now, I actually usually measure the bottom of the nose from the eyebrows to the chin halfway. So it's a slightly different measurement, but that looks like 8. So I'm going to say the nose is about here, the bottom of the nose. And then I'm just going to guess where the mouth would go. I'm going to say the mouth is a little closer to the nose than it is to the chin. So I have more space here than I have here. Okay, and you should already, with this, just this amount of marks, you should already, if you're like most humans, you could just recognize that as human face proportions, even if it doesn't have any of the features drawn in yet. Okay, now the ear usually lines up with somewhere around the top lip. Now I am drawing one of the beetles with their shaggy hairdos. So I'm just going to draw a little bit of the bottom of the ear. And then I can start doing my observational work where I am looking carefully and seeing what I'm seeing and how I should draw each of the features. Humans come pretty standard in terms of the placement of our features, and there's just millimeters of difference which indicate that we're different people. It's weird, but it's true. And it's hard to believe for a lot of us because we find each other to look so different. But that is just part of our brain that's super duper sensitive to how people look. So I'm going ahead and doing one of these shaggy long-haired doos that the Beatles were famous for, adding a bunch of hair. Everybody hated them who was an adult because they let their hair grow out and they thought they looked shaggy and they didn't look appropriate and good. Now these haircuts are nothing to write home about, but when they first happened, people were really pissed about it. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw the side of the face. These guys are smiling. I'm going to do George Harrison. He's got his cheek is popping out because he's smiling in this picture. Though I probably will not make him smiling just because it makes it easier. Okay, so then I kind of see his nose coming down, and he's smiling, so it's flared out a little bit, and then a smile makes our nose widen a little bit. But I'm still doing essentially what we practiced, the C shapes at the side, the nostril, and then the little bump of the nose often is kind of most of the edge of the nose here, rather than being able to see that other nostril. Sometimes you can see a hint of it, sometimes you can't, just depending on how the person's nose is, right? Their hair actually came down further. You have nice shaggy bangs going all the way down to their eyebrows pretty much. You can barely see the eyebrow here. One thing that I've been talking about with my classes lately is how when I do portrait drawing, I do constant adjustments. I'm always checking things and noticing, oh, that sticks out a little bit more. So I do a lot of like kind of redrawing. Now, if you're just, you know, not talking while you're drawing, you might not need to do as much redrawing as I do. But because I am always talking while I'm doing these videos, it's like I can't just do full concentration, but nonetheless, like I suggest you guys also constantly look and go, oh, that looks a little too wide. That looks a little too narrow. That doesn't look like the right place, and go ahead and redraw as necessary. Okay. So, I'm doing those leaf shapes for the eyes right now, just as my starting point for an eye. And I'm kind of trying to look at George Harrison's eye shape and stuff as I do this. Okay, there we go. I got the eyeballs in. He doesn't have a lot of eyelid to speak of, a little bit at the corners here, so I'm going to draw that. And there you go. We have a basic shape of a 3/4 view face. Okay. And of course, you can spend your time adding details in that will make this look more realistic and give you the pleasure of drawing all of those details. But the fact is that with this much, you should have the basic features of a person. Okay. Oh, the other thing I like to do is shade down the nose and under the nose, because that gives the nose some definition. Otherwise, a lot of times you kind of can't see what exactly is happening there, because there's no lines at the edge of the nose. So you need that shading to show us like what's going on there. There is a bit of a line. This is the only time you see the edge of the nose is in a 3/4 view. Well, yeah, in a 3/4 view, you get to see the edge of the nose, and that kind of helps. Now, this guy's actually are smiling, so I'm going to make the jaw a little bit bigger because it stretches down as you smile. Plus, he's got a hefty man chin. I'm going to add a little bit of man chin to this. Okay. And I noticed that it's darkly shaded underneath his chin because of the cast shadow from his chin and his jaw. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little shading in, and then he's got his sweater because it's cold in England. There we go. Okay. So of course you can spend your time, you know, doing more observation and drawing all the details you see in a person's face, but these proportions are crucial to get at the beginning of a drawing. Otherwise, things look wonky. Even if you've done a really careful job drawing the features, if you don't have that template, making sure that things are anatomically correct, then your face is going to look wonky, and sometimes it's hard to tell why. You think it's because you drew a feature wrong, but really it's because the proportions are off. Alrighty, my friends, there you have it. There is your basic 3/4 view.